1,700 members. So that's it. COS Community Strong Facebook group.
Great. Have you plans for continuing this beyond coronavirus?
You know, Dave, that's such a good question. I went through this last couple of weeks really struggling with that answer. Was this something that I was going to really continue, something that I've poured myself into, and so many other people that are contributors to the page. And yes, I definitely want to continue this. There's such a need for this community. We've created a community within itself in the Community Strong page and group. And we're definitely going to keep it going.
Wonderful. Do you have any lessons that you've learned from all this that you'd like to pass on to us?
You know, I think it is, I mean, it has been an incredible learning experience. And there's definitely nothing I want to change. If anything, I want to grow the group because I've seen the impact that it's had to moms who come on and ask a question about finding gluten-free food. And I've seen business owners come on and completely redefine themselves and ask questions to the community. And we had one photographer come on and say, I can't do this anymore. I can't support my family, but I have a totally different passion. What do you think about this complete new business idea? And just to see everybody pour into you know, her redeveloping herself and completely rebranding herself. So if anything, I just want to see it grow and let people utilize it to, you know, to spotlight themselves and you see the heart that goes in from every community member into the community, whether it's helping the community by doing chalk walks and posting their pictures, or whether it's a business owner that's posting, you know, their daily bread that they're selling. So
terrific.
Thanks.
Thanks very much for being part of this, and thanks for what you're doing in your neighborhood.
Thank you.
I think I promised that I would call on Mary Beth next. Mary Beth Treiba.
Well, I'm Mary Beth Treiba, and I live in Ivywild, and I am a resident for 13 years here in Ivywild. And I've been on the Ivywild board for 6 years. And we took a very direct approach in Ivywild to assist our small businesses. We have a lot of independently owned restaurants and small businesses that are struggling right now and need some attention. So we do a lot of posts for them on our Facebook page and Nextdoor, stating that they're open. We do a daily list of, or a weekly list of what the restaurant hours are, because they change constantly. And we're really excited now because some of the restaurants and stores are back open, and on a very limited way with new curbside pickups or virtual tours. So people need to know that you can go to our stores, but it's going to be through a virtual tour. And so that was our main focus. Then we kind of grew from there. We just happened to post a picture of a neighbor communicating through a window with another neighbor. And we got people sending us things what other great neighbors are doing in our neighborhood. We have nurses that are flying to New Jersey. We have people that are putting up mysterious little signs saying, "Stay strong neighborhood," in other people's yards. So we want to let people know that our neighborhood is assisting, just being strong with each other. And then we know that November or May is still going to be a tough month on people, and we're a very artistic community. So we've done a call for artists to help create a mural for our entry into Ivywild at the corner of Cheyenne Road and Cascade. And we've extended it to the entire Colorado Springs community. But that'll give people something to focus on for the month of May while they do designs and see what they can submit to us. And we're really excited about that avenue. So we're getting good responses from people. But what I think we're finding is that because we are a small community, we are a very strong community within each other, and we're all helping each other. We have a lady that came to us and said, you know, would you help us? We want to help the seniors make sure they get their groceries and get their prescriptions. So we've put a team together and we help them advertise that so that people know that they can call this organization and have their groceries delivered to them. And it's just incredible to see what Ivy Wild is doing just as a core unit. That's what we're all about.
That's pretty wonderful, actually. And for those of you who don't know, Ivy Wild may be our oldest established neighborhood in the city. Actually, I believe predates Colorado Springs.
Colorado Springs, 1888 we were established, and the board has been around since 1898. So that's pretty incredible.
It has been. It is incredible, absolutely. Are there mistakes you feel you've made that you'd like to share with us so that our participants
you know,
can...
I think there's always learning mistakes. I think the biggest thing that, I wouldn't say there are any mistakes. I think what we've found is we rely on our partnership with Cheyenne Mountain Library so much that we miss that, and we miss that they're not open. We also realize just how hard communication is, because a lot of people do go to the library to use their computers, and getting information out is still a very big issue because not everybody has a computer, not everybody is on Nextdoor, and getting that out with the businesses closed, we can't put flyers up there. We're finding that a difficult avenue. So, you know, we're just trying to get people to share stuff as much as possible, get emails out so that people know what's going on. And I think this is probably our weakest link, is we didn't use our email services as well as we should have in the beginning. I think we could have communicated better in that, and now we are starting to do that and send out emails, and we've sent out notices of, you know, what programs are canceled and what programs are still pending, for, you know, depending on where the government goes with our state goes with group functions. So I think the communications where we're really struggling.
Okay, I remember when I was the president of the Old North End, and we had a emailing list of about 35 people. It didn't work very well, and we started paying attention to every time we got a communication, we'd ask for an email, and pretty soon within a year or so, I think we were up to about half the neighborhood, which has 1,500 residences. Okay, is there something that you're planning on doing in the future that you haven't mentioned already?
Not at the moment. Right now, I said I think our big thing is some of our really big programs like Coffee in the Park that starts at the end of May, and our June picnic, we're kind of on hold. And Coffee in the Park is just an incredible thing that we do every single Thursday morning, and people are already going, are we going to have coffee in the park? And I keep saying, well, it depends on how many, you know, people we can get together. And if it's still 10, then the answer is no. But we're, you know, we're looking at different things we can do for getting the people together, even if it's through some cyber group program other than Zoom, where this is more of a meeting format. We need more of a social format.
Great. Thank you, Mary Beth. I think we'll go now to Sarah DePasquale.
Hi, guys.
Am I pronouncing that correctly?
DePasquale. Yes, that's the way to say it. Hi, I am a mom who resides in Patty Jewett neighborhood, and I help organize like Porch Fest that we do and the Peppermint Patties Kids Group. And so when this pandemic came about, I focused on doing things for families and for all neighbors to participate in. So we did a lot of those, we did a window walk theme, and just try to share that with our Facebook Nextdoor and our email list. That way people can, if they can get outside, they can see the themed windows, the artwork, and people that can't get outside, they can still decorate and put it up on their window, you know, so everybody can be involved in that. I did a lot of reaching out to families and getting feedback, because it's not just me with the ideas, but together, if a group of families got together with we did a sidewalk challenge on Shook's Run path, and it made it not just one block, but 3 or 4 blocks of the path. So it just made it bigger and louder and more cheerful, I would say, for not just our neighbors to enjoy, but people walking on that path. And then I also did a peppermint or a Patty Jewett neighborhood scavenger hunt that was just for a neighborhood. So things that were highlighted in our neighborhood that you wouldn't find in another area. Because I know on Pinterest, you can go and find neighborhood scavenger hunt for a stop sign. But I took it and tweaked it where it was, we have a sunflower mural on one of the streets on a side of the building in the neighborhood. So just tweaked and made those family friendly things for people that can get out and participate, or for people that can just stay indoors if they're comfortable just making artwork on the window. So young and old, and you know, that's the stuff that I've been doing since this stay-at-home order.
Great. Good. And have you learned some things you'd like to share with us?
Yes, just listening to Mary Beth and Bronwyn, I think just hearing about how you've featured or talked to neighbors that are doing things. You know, I'd like to find some neighbors in Patty Jewett that are traveling or helping others and feature them, because I think it's good to acknowledge everyone and help also neighbors that might need groceries. I've heard people mention that, you know, more of an outreach to help if we can, instead of just hosting events, maybe more of individual things. That would be good.
Great. And are there some plans that you are making that you'd like to share with us?
Yeah, I know I talked to Sarah Voss about this, the Community Rocks idea. Anybody's welcome to do it. It's pretty simple. It's just a twist on the 719 rocks, but I think if you promote and encourage people to participate, it could be a positive thing with having neighbors paint a rock. They can hide it. They could put it in their front yard and just take a picture of it, and just a sense of community from afar. We're going to try to launch that in May and see how that goes.
Great. Terrific. Sounds you're doing some terrific things. Every time I mention to somebody the children's group that you have, the Peppermint Patties, it gets a big smile.
Yeah.
What a wonderful name. What a
Thank you. Thank you. It's fun.
I'm sure it is. Lydia, I think you're up next.
Hello. My name is Lydia Andrews. I have a business called Maple and Moss Designs here in the Springs. I actually got to know all of you through Sarah Voss. She's amazing. My husband and I are kind of eccentric people, and we like to do things out of the box. We are huge advocates for community, and not just community, but particularly your own street, your own neighbors, right to the left and to the right of you. I believe especially that if you get started with learning who your neighbors are, then it really will change the world, because we're creating relationships with people that we wouldn't necessarily choose to. And I think when you start entering that space of befriending and becoming support systems for those people you wouldn't necessarily choose to, that's what changes our communities, right? So that being said, we started Pancakes on the Porch a couple years ago at our house in the summer, where we would make a huge batches of pancakes, and all our neighbors would come over on Saturday mornings. It was just very easy to do, and it got us really connected to everyone on our street. And so from there, we, just like you were talking about, we started email lists. At first we were just dropping flyers in mailboxes, like come to Pancakes on the Porch, because that seemed like the best way to start, right? Because if you don't have anyone's information, how are you going to get the word out? So once people started coming, we got an email list. I was the creepy friend that was like, do you want to put your name on our list? But it worked. And, you know, people are more willing than you give them credit for. So we had a list, and then from there, we kind of got a little Facebook message group for our street. And one day, I want to say it was like week 2 of the pandemic and the stay-at-home orders, we were just like, my husband and I were going crazy with our 5-year-olds. And we're like, you know, it'd be so fun. What if we invite all the neighbors to go outside and we all put the same song in our car systems? Because, you know, it's downtown, so most people park out front. And what if we all we'll like literally yell 1, 2, 3 and play the same song out of all of our cars and just have a dance party, and just like everybody can social distance dance in front of their house or on their lawn. And so we did it, and I had my phone. It's the worst video because I'm dancing and it's like bouncing everywhere. And we shared it on social media, and then it like became a thing where everyone's like, I want to do that. I want to do that. And through Sarah Voss and Brawin, we got iHeartRadio to kind of get connected, and the news got super connected to this idea, because I think it was just like a bit of goodness, you know, and especially that week 2 where everyone was just like, what is happening? There was just like this spark of joy that, like, you know, everyone could just be silly for like 3 minutes. And so so iHeartRadio every Friday at 6 p.m. and they extended it for the full month. It was just a week. They extended it the full month of April. Every Friday at 6 p.m. they'd play the same song on the radio, and we encouraged everyone in the city to tune into one of their stations and dance. And they all played the same song, which was great. And then they tagged it #dancing from a distance. And it just was great. I mean, it was to do something without a purpose besides just having a good time and creating community just always feels good. So the last one we did was this past Friday, and my street's like, we're going to do this every Friday. I don't even care if there's a virus anymore. We're just going to do it because it's so much fun. Yeah, so that's the story of, you know, our street and what we started, and it's been awesome.
Wonderful. That's terrific. And again, do you think you've made some mistakes that other people should avoid?
Because, you know, I think everyone's pretty much stayed at their comfort level. You know, there were some neighbors that stayed in their specific yard. I was in the middle of the street because that's who I am. You know, I think maybe addressing the comfort level, the safety precaution thing is so strange, because some people are like, you have to wear masks, you know, in indoor public places, and then you're outdoors, and so you're like, do we wear masks? And then the mask thing became a real thing. So I think just not knowing guidelines as far as it, but for the most part, it didn't, especially a lot of people were hashtagging from their own living room. So I don't think it really was a negative, but I think having maybe more information as far as, like, I think Sarah, we on the page said, make sure, you know, you stay in your comfort level, stay in your yard. So I think we handled that pretty well, but, you know, I think everybody's kind of up in the air about, like, what exactly are we supposed to be doing? Because it changes every other day. So maybe just like being more specific with that. And honestly, like we had such a momentum going, we probably could have, you know, the entrepreneur in me is like, we could have probably done something else off of this, but I actually enjoyed just taking it for what it was and being excited about that moment, you know.
Terrific. And do you have any other plans for this going forward that you haven't shared with us?
You know, Dave, to be honest with you, I'm just trying to shower, and I would love to say I will, but we're just in survival mode at this point. You know, now my husband's home all next month. So I'm sure all of you listening are in the same boat where you're like, I had a lot of energy and like oomph at the beginning, like, let's do this. And now I'm just like, I just need to maintain where I'm at. And if you know, I'm sure all of you leaders can attest to, like, if a spark happens of an idea, then you follow it. But I'll wait for that spark.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Okay, Sarah Voss, my old-time sidekick.
Yeah, hello. It's good to be back. I'm Sarah, and I'm now working in Pueblo West for the Metropolitan District, doing community and neighborhood development there. But I still live in Colorado Springs, and I'm the vice president of the organization of Westside Neighbors. So I'm still really active here and there, which creates its own challenge of being remote, but also about 45 minutes remote of the rest of my team down south. So, but what I'm doing on the west side, we're a little bit unique in that we're really large. So our neighborhood is 8,500 households. It's the entire west side. And we have 6 board members. So our board has met a couple times because at the beginning, I was like Lydia and I was excited. I wanted to do things. I wanted to do events because that's what I love to do, but realized that the rest of the board was not exactly as motivated as I was with that. So we really just had to step back and really see what our priorities were to support each other and all of our emotions just personally too, of figuring out this new kind of world that we're in. So we actually had to make a budget decision, and we contract with someone to do our social media and our newsletter and marketing, and had to cut that payment to that contract worker in half and decided not to do a newsletter. However, we're still doing social media and emailing. So emailing is saving us right now because we still want to be in contact with our neighborhood. So we've been doing a lot of things to support Old Colorado City businesses because, again, Old Colorado City is all those little tiny t-shirt shops and coffee shops and restaurants and local places. So we've been doing some video campaigns. We've had each of the board members take videos of them when they're picking up food or if they've got food delivered, or just showing home offices, just trying to humanize, like, hey, we're in this together. This is my setup. Or I took a video the other day of myself walking on a neighborhood trail. So we have a lot of parks on the west side, a lot of trail connections. So trying to encourage our neighbors to get out and use those local parks too. We've also, like Mary Beth said, been sharing just some really cool things that are just happening naturally in the neighborhoods. On 21st Street, there's a big fence that says mask on a fence. It's a big banner, and there's Ziploc bags hanging. So it's like, leave a mask, take a mask. So people that are sewing them, they leave them there for people that need to pick them up. So I thought that was really cool. So it's nothing the board did, but it's something that we're sharing some positive news in the neighborhood. There's another campaign going around on the west side called View from My House, or View from My Window, sorry. And so again, you know, what are we all looking at? What are we doing with our time? So just kind of some fun social media campaigns, if you will. Another thing, I'm just looking at my notes. Oh, we're chatting with some Old Colorado City businesses about some events that we could start to roll out in the summer, because as we look down down the road in the summer, we also do bike rides and murals on the basketball courts and the big long community table and block parties. So we have to look at those differently. I'm calling these micro events. So these can be things that people can do in their own front yard with their own family. And maybe some neighbors as we begin to see maybe some lifts of these restrictions. But just thinking of fun ways for families and neighbors to get involved. I think it was maybe Bronwyn or another, maybe it was Jessica in our women's group that had the idea of like a drive-in movie in your driveway, projecting movies on the garage door. So little things where we can pull together little toolkits, because you know I love toolkits, Dave, of ways that people can have their own fun this summer. We're looking in Old Carter City to do a July 4th parade via your car, decorating a car. So just trying to be creative and think outside the box, but still create a sense of belonging and that we're all kind of part of something bigger. But I think that's kind of where we're at. We've paused, like I said, a lot of those events that we're used to doing on the west side, and just more encouraging interaction on social media and email. So.
Great, great. And again, are there some errors you think you've made that it would help other people to know how to avoid?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's down to the communication too, is we've tried to, because we're such a large neighborhood, we've tried to elect board members that live kind of spread out throughout the west side so that we can engage people locally. Like Lydia said, it's kind of has to start at your front door, then your block, then your street. And trying to, I have to look at, instead of looking at trying to interact with the entire west side, how can I interact with just my street and my neighbors? And then if another board member lives a couple blocks away, how are they doing that on their street and their block? So I think just being more intentional of that local interaction. And we, just before all of this happened in February, had a really fun recruitment event to recruit volunteers. We had 50 people, we got all those email addresses. So I'm really glad we did that. And we're trying to use those communication channels with all of them to say, okay, on your street, these are the things that you can do. So I think emails, communication is so, so important. But we have a lot of work yet to do. So I think building it all up, you have to start somewhere and just keep going, I guess.
Great, great. Sarah said something to me that I thought I heard reflected in one of Lydia's comments just now, and that is that you thought it was important, I'm paraphrasing, forgive me, you thought it was important to not take on too much, I think is what I've got out of that. You want to elaborate on that a little bit, please?
Sure. I think, I mean, I think it's important to take care of ourselves, because we can't take care of others if we haven't really taken care of ourselves first. But I think, again, it just starts one neighbor at a time. And I think that's all what we're trying to do here is we can't change the world. Of course, you know, I want to help all the neighborhoods and get everyone involved, doing all the same things and these, you know, citywide initiatives. But it's also like, okay, hold on. I'm also overwhelmed with what I see on social media and that feeling of not doing enough. And it's like, okay, how can I just talk to one neighbor today or say hi to someone that I pass on the trail? It feels awesome because I feel like everybody that I pass on the street when I'm walking the neighborhood just is craving that connection. And I feel like if I can just have one good interaction, that's huge. And that's enough, you know?
That's a really good point. I know that when Paula and I walk the neighborhood, it's amazing how much more conversation we get into when we see people out walking or pass people in their driveways, working on their gardens, whatever. It's very rewarding, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
A reminder that we're all in this together, to use a tired phrase. Okay, I'm going to ask our panel here if they've got questions for each other. And Bronwyn, I'll start with you. Bronwyn, I apologize. I'll start with you.
No problem. Thank you. Mary Beth, I love what you're doing. And I am working a little bit with my neighborhood kind of to almost to refocus. You know, the Community Strong page is created several friends of mine around the Springs all the way up into Monument, doing kind of going down into Pueblo and Fountain, but kind of refocusing into that smaller group. And so I just love what you're doing. And I wanted to, you guys have a Facebook page, and then you also have, what platforms are you reaching out to your community?
We use Ivywild Improvement Society Facebook page. We use the Ivywild Next Door page, and then we do our email blasts. Those are the 3 platforms we use. I do not do any of the other ones, and since I'm doing these, I'm a little techno scared. But basically anything of importance as far as this is a calendar of events, this is something that's really cool, goes immediately on to all 3. If it's just a daily post, Facebook gets inundated, but we do use our Facebook heavily. We post 3, 4, 5 times a day, just so people are aware of what's going on. We have the benefit, unlike Sarah Voss, our neighborhood is small, 1,500 or so households. We don't have the large capacity, so it's easier for us to go and keep in touch with the stores. We can actually pick up the phone and call almost every single store and talk to them on a personal basis and say, hey, what's going on? What are your hours this week? And the list isn't near as large, but it's equally as important because they need to be contacted. So, you know, I think Facebook is our biggest one, and Nextdoor is a huge, Nextdoor, we don't have quite the presence, but it's very active as far as the Ivywild community. And what's really cool about it right now is that it is all the positive things that each neighbor, hey, my neighbor did this, or, you know, my neighbor called me and said, can I pick something up for you? So we just really want to put out the positive things that's going on in the neighborhood, because there are so many negative posts out there, and let's keep it on an upbeat local stage.
I think that's great advice. Sarah DiPasquale, you have a question of anybody? Ah,
Oh, she's muted.
yes, she's muted. Oh dear, how did that, oh, you unmuted yourself, I think.
Yes, the children were screaming in the background. So. Muted. But they're good now. My question really is open to everyone on the panel is, you know, volunteers. You know, we need volunteers to either have suggestions or run some of these things, you know, and I would love some input on how you guys get those volunteers.
Great question.
Guilt.
Food and drink.
Food, okay.
I think if I might step in, so when we had an event, and obviously you can't have an event, but it could be a message in an email, we were specific. Be specific in what you need, because everyone's going to resonate with something else. So we had, like, if you want to help with the block party event, or if you want to help with this, so I would say be specific in what you're asking for. How much time? Do you just want ideas and input? Maybe a poll on Facebook is a way to do that. Do you want bodies and people making phone calls and people walking the street or sharing something? Like, just be specific in what it is that you're looking for. And I think that will help you, because people, at least I like expectations of my time and responsibility.
Right. So more direct and specific. Yeah, okay, thanks.
I think you're also going to find that you do get regular people that are the ones that always volunteer. I mean, we put that out there and you get new people, but time and time again, you do get the people that really are strong, neighborhood based, and you end up turning and relying on them. And I think the problem that causes is that you do rely on them. So do what Sarah says and keep always advertising for more. Never stop, because one day they'll move, or one day they just decide they don't want to volunteer anymore. So, and be specific.
Okay, thanks.
Great advice. Great advice. Other questions from our panel?
I have a question for Sarah and Patty Jewett, and I tried to say your last name, but I'm embarrassed I can't. I am just, I'm thrilled with your Peppermint Patty group, and that is one of our weaker areas is the children's group. How did you, and how are you coming up with all of these ideas during the lockdown?
Well, I feel like the Peppermint Patties group has been around for a long time. I don't know if you guys know Amy Trilifido. That's another last name. It's hard to say. But she was really the one who started the group, and it's been around for many, many years. So I think it's one of those things, if you start it, just keep going and it'll catch on. And I've sort of just took over some of those traditional events that we've had. The Franklin Street Parade, it's super easy, you know, just the kids walk down the street. And then we do the egg hunt. We do that every year. And then I did, you know, a good resource is the Pikes Peak Library District. They were willing to come in and do a story time with neighborhood groups. So reach out to them and ask them to host. That's something that they provide. And I think just repetition and keep going, it'll catch on. It'll might be slow at first, but keep at it and the word will get out.
Excellent.
Very much so. Very much so. I'm going to ask the rest of our participants if they have a question. I have a question right now. I think she's available to answer it, to ask it rather, from the chair of our board, Lisa Bachman, and there she is. Lisa, you have a question.
Yes, well, first of all, I want to thank everybody for the great participation that's on the call today, and our panelists have been just jotting down fast and furiously all these great ideas from our neighborhoods. And how cool, Dave, that you put this together so people could share neighborhood to neighborhood what's going on and what the great ideas are. So thank you all. You've given me some great ideas. I tend to just gather my little cul-de-sac together. We do camping in the cul-de-sac, where I bring out my my propane tank heater and we put our lawn chairs around the campfire and we cook marshmallows and talk and sing and have a good time. But I'm thinking, I live on Honeysuckle Way, I'm thinking I'm going to start up the honeysuckle hop and get everybody to just hop their little selves right up to the campfire on the cul-de-sac. So that'll be fun. But I have a question for all of you. What is it that Pono can do to help you and help your neighborhoods and communicate more with you? Any thoughts from either any of our panelists or any of the participants listening today?
You know, Kono has always been a great asset for Ivy Wild. They helped us put our, boy, my mind just went blank. But, you know, they've helped us write our, what was it called, Dave?
We helped you write your bylaws.
Thank you.
And I remember when Jan Dorn and I met with what seemed to be two competing groups. One group thought they were the board for Ivy Wild, and the other group didn't know about this first group, and they were trying to start a group for Ivy Wild. So it was quite a mess for a while. But you guys had a lot of goodwill, a lot of patience with each other, and it led to what you're doing now, which is having such a vibrant, important neighborhood that makes a real difference in residents' lives.
I think really, you don't know what Kono can do for you until you ask them. I mean, all they can do is say no, or they'll say yes, or they'll point you in the direction in which you need. So that's been our relationship with them, and it's always been a very good one. So we're thankful they're around, or you're around.
Thank
Awesome.
you.
Thanks, Mary Beth. I would just say to all the other neighborhoods, just ask. We
Well-
continue to expand our capabilities. We've got a very strong board and some new staff that have come on very recently. So we're here. Sometimes I don't even know what it is we can do until somebody asks. I got a call, gosh, it was right at the very beginning from Victoria Stone when all this started happening. She said, "This is what I need. Can Kono help?" And it's like, yep, we got some different resources together and we got her taken care of quickly. So just ask. Any other questions from anybody on how, or input on how Kono can help?
Lisa, I would say I didn't even know Kono existed, which I think a lot of people don't. The reason I know Kono existed is because of Sarah and befriending her. And I think what would be great, and you guys probably already do this, but you know, a lot of times people want to do something, and I'm just speaking for, you know, I'm not involved, I think the way a lot of you are. I'm just kind of like someone on my street who, you know, believes in connecting people. So I think it'd be great too to, like, you know, give examples, or you know, say, for example, Sarah, like I would love to, you know, kind of copy what you did and do a huge party with like tons of tables going down the street, and everyone brings their own chair from their house, and we do like a big dinner, like a feast, almost, you know, like a huge feast. But I would never be like, oh, can we shut the street down? Or, oh, can we, you know, I have no idea where to start. And I think it would be great, Lisa, to like throw resources out there that you can do or that you have done, and say, hey, have you ever thought of X, Y, and Z? Because I think that's going to be a spark for a lot of people to go, oh, I didn't even know I could do that, right? I didn't even know that was an option. I think it would inspire a lot of people to they're sitting in their couch, on their couch, like processing the things they want to do. And then if you gave them that, you know, first step, I think that's going to be what ignites the city, and to say, oh yeah, I can, especially younger people like us, to connect people one-on-one. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Absolutely, absolutely. And like I said, I've been writing down ideas that I've been listening from each of your speakers, what you're doing in your neighborhoods. And so that might be something we could do in our newsletter. I'll probably call on Sarah, because Sarah is the idea person extraordinaire, and she's always got great ideas of events to pull people together. So yeah, we'll brainstorm that and just kind of start collecting things, and it could really grow across the city of everybody chiming in of what they're doing in their neighborhood. So thanks, Lydia. Great thought.
And I will just add, if you don't mind, Lydia, that is a great comment. That Sarah, when she was working, Sarah Voss, when she was with Kono, helped lots of neighborhoods close their streets down. And Kono still has, and will always have, I think, barricades that you can use to physically close the street. And Kono can help you work with the city or the county or another municipality, if you're not in Colorado Springs, to figure out what all you need to do that. And Kono can be helpful. So it's not like you have to take on a lot of effort to work with that bureaucracy. Having said all that, I'm going to ask Sarah Voss if she'd like to make some comments about that.
I think you've covered it. I mean, I think that's what we've been, or Kono has worked on trying to do, is show how easy it can be to do these things and reduce the barriers to access a lot of that. So redoing the permit application, for example, to close the street, taking that over from the city so that we're a little bit more of a middleman to get things done. But I agree. I think, you know, we've talked about our own communication challenges within our own neighborhoods, but communicating to the city at large and to neighborhoods at large is another challenge that I think any organization has. So the more we all understand it and can be kind of those conduits of information. Like, hey, I do have an idea, I really don't know where to start, but knowing that at least it's an entry point of, if we don't know or somebody on staff doesn't know, we know who to ask that will know. I keep saying we, I'm sorry. But yes, and to respond to Lisa, I agree. I think like with what Sarah D said, having more like messaging what everybody is doing and sharing, like the dancing from a distance. I know Trina did a good job at sharing that, and we got the mayor to do some dancing as well. And so it's almost just kind of following, it's a two-way communication between us and you and us to share with the community at large what awesome things are happening and what initiatives are out there. So, but again, communication is always a challenge. Just to point out, Linda Huntstone seems to be raising her hand, and Bronwyn.
Okay, I will ask Linda to ask a question here. I just need to turn on her microphone. And the rest of you, if you have a question, those of you who are allowing us to have your video on, if you have a question, just raise your hand and Paula or I will notice and recognize you and then turn on your mic. It helps to if we manage it that way, it helps reduce the background noise.
Great.
Okay, Linda, please.
Can you read my sign? I wrote it backwards.
No, I can't read it.
I didn't know what to do. But anyway, thanks Sarah for picking up on my facial expression. But first off, I just want to ditto. I'm relatively new to Kono, just a couple of years from Georgetown Square Townhouses, so I'm their liaison. But Kono is our go-to. If we have a question, if we have an idea, if we're struggling with something, I always, and my board says, Linda, could you talk to Kono about this? Always have been so responsive and so helpful, and even some spin-off issues that we've had, the North Academy revitalization issue, they've been so helpful. So I just want to underscore how valuable Kono is, but you have to ask and you have to reach out and stay in touch. So I think that's been really helpful. And more than helpful. I mean, it's really been the thing that has made my community liaison work so much easier and been invaluable to our community. They helped us with our 50-year celebration. Our HOA was 50 years old, Georgetown Square last year. And so they were just wonderful about helping us with that. But I did have a question for Mary Beth. Mary Beth, you talked about the mural that you folks created. Is that accurate? Do I have the right person?
Yes. We haven't created it. We are doing a call for artists right now.
Oh, good, good.
It is deadlines May. How many days are in May? 30? So deadline's the end of May.
Okay.
There are two matching jersey barriers at the corner, almost the corner of Cheyenne Road and Cascade, which is the entrance to Ivywild. And we are looking to have the two jersey barriers. We're working with the city to get them painted in a mural with an Ivywild entrance. And been a lot of response, a lot of good response. We've already seen some drafts, and people are excited about doing it, but we're really hoping that it will just snap and say Ivywild and you bring out the history of Ivywild, you know, what the creek represents to these people or whatever. So if you're interested, you can either there's not an application, but the rules are on our Facebook page, or you can email ivywild80905@gmail.com, and I will send you the information that's necessary.
Great. So it's ivywild80905@gmail.com.
Uh-huh.
Okay. The reason I'm asking is particularly for the North Academy Revitalization Initiative, we're working with Colorado Springs Utilities on developing a sign or some kind of welcome to that part of town that's Academy Boulevard and Constitution. So we're really trying to find artists, invite people to give us ideas and, you know, propose projects that would be doable. So that's really valuable for me. I'll be in touch.
And
Okay, because I can give you some more information. Pikes Peak Radar and Copper are excellent avenues for finding artists.
Great. Okay.
Sarah, you have a question.
If
Or a
I might add to that, I think this is a helpful thing to do as neighborhood leaders is writing down your process for these things. So on the west side, we did a utility box wrap, just like downtown. And we worked with Claire from Downtown Partnership on kind of how they did it, who they used to do their printing. But we created another kind of toolkit, a step-by-step of how we did it, how we did the call for artists, what format we needed the artwork in, timelines, who at the city we need to talk to for permissions. So I think that's just a challenge to all of you as you're doing these events and these initiatives is try to create an outline, like how to paint a basketball court. That way, if I'm no longer living on the west side, but someone wants to replicate this in any neighborhood, so try to release it from this is my baby to I want to help other neighbors do these things. So writing down how you did it, how you fundraised, or maybe you got donations and this was your contact, or this is your sponsorship template. All those kinds of things are really helpful, and I know that's something was building as well of like best practices. So I think that's just a really good thing to do. So Mary Beth, you know, if Linda's trying to duplicate something like that and you have like, this is a loose way of how we do these things, I think that's helpful. You know, you have 3 judges and you make sure it's not someone on the board, you make sure it looks transparent and it's inclusive of all different types of residents that you have in your neighborhood. So just some ideas.
great advice.
You know, the other thing is Sarah, is if you have a toolkit that's responsive to this particular issue, let me know. And also Kono, if Kono could collect a library of those, you know, and or at least have the resources, like say, okay, Linda, this is what you want to do. Here's some communities that did it. They have an outline. They'll be great. They'll share it with you. But that, because we really, you know, we always feel like we're starting from scratch, and I know better. You know, when I look at all the communities, I know we're not alone, and I know people have done similar kinds of things. So it's just hard getting our hands around specific how-tos. Yeah.
Thanks, Linda. I wanted to just say that if you are on the phone with us or not on video, but you can hear us and you'd like to ask a question, if you would text me at 719-337-5838. We're going to stay on for about 4 or 5 more minutes. Bronwyn, I think you've been wanting to ask a question or make a comment for a while.
No, thank you so much. I wanted to, actually, I think at this point, really my answer that, well, what I wanted to say is covered by these wonderful answers, but kind of going back to Lisa's question as to what Kono could do for us. I also was not familiar with Kono. Thank you, Sarah and David, for introducing me. But one of the things, Dave, that we spoke about last week was when you have the board, you know, I've run into that here in my wonderful neighborhood of Pinecliffe. You know, the board can't be pushing out, put shamrocks on your windows, put rainbows on your driveway from the actual board. You know, they're the board. They've got the bylaws and all this thing. And then to have that social media aspect. And so we have just created that space that we're just starting to explore. And I'm excited to work with some of the board members that we're going to be doing the Pinecliffe Connection and creating that community space. That's the social aspect. So yes, knowing the difference between what the board can do, as well as that social aspect. The limitations are not there with what you can do from a Facebook page and things like that. But also wanted to mention, oh goodness, now it's going to escape me. Kono, yes, the ability to do things together. I want to reach out to every single one of you. Dave, Sarah asked, well, all of you, if you have an idea, I would love to also utilize that idea and put it onto my page, into my community message, as well as then Kono. I mean, it would be really nice to, of course, you can't do every event daily and weekly, that's just too much, but how fun would it be to have 3, 4 yearly events that we all do together, and really come together. I mean, Ivywild, Pinecliff, West Side, it can really become a great initiative for fun little things. We are not alone. This is what this whole group is about, is community and doing things. And of course you can't, like I said, you can't do that on the grand scale all the time, but there could be some really fun initiatives that we could do together.
I think that's a wonderful thing to say, and we will be following up with you on that. Riley, I think you had your hand up a while back. And I need to unmute you. That's right. There we go.
Hi, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Awesome. I just wanted to introduce myself. I am the new community outreach manager over at Pike Ride. So I just wanted to tell you guys about a couple different resources that we have during this time. We're offering free 30-minute unlimited rides for anyone that wants to get on our bikes. And we're also doing an Adopt a Bike program for any employees of St. Francis and Memorial Hospital. So they're able to get free memberships as well as a personalized bike. So if you know anybody that fits in one of those, just let them know. And if there's any kind of events that you see a connection with Pike Ride, you can always email us, and we're always looking for new connections. So yeah.
And Riley, Pike Ride is they're electric bikes, right?
Yeah, they're really, really awesome. And because they're electric, it really kind of opens it up to who can use them. So they're pretty fun.
Okay, and I think Lisa Kaufman wanted to say something, and that we ought to give you the pride of last place, Lisa, because I think we're beyond time here.
Well, I just want to say what great ideas. And when I heard you talking, Lydia, about events that we can bring the whole community together, different neighborhoods, that sounds like Neighbor Up Week to me, which is something that Dave and Sarah started during their tenures. And it's been very successful. If the weather would cooperate a little more, I think it'd be even more successful. But great ideas, and I've taken really good notes, and I will pass all this on to the Kono staff. And just on behalf of Kono and the board of directors, I want to thank you all for your participation, your enthusiasm, your energy, and your great ideas. So I'll go back to you, Dave.
Thank you. And I'm going to wrap it up by saying thanks again. What a terrific panel you ladies are. Just amazing. It's what Kono's all about. And I'm just very grateful for your energy and your smarts and your creativity. I just want to remind, and I want to thank our participants. You've all been very patient with us. If you have some, I know most of you, if you have some concerns or suggestions, love to hear them. And you can reach me at P as in Paul, D as in David Munger, MUNGER @AOL.com. And just a reminder that we've recorded this session, and we will be making that accessible sometime in the fairly near future. I think we're still talking about what's the best way to do that, but we'll look for it on the webpage, and we will send out emails about that as well. Also, I want to encourage all of you, if you know somebody who's doing something innovative in their neighborhood, especially about building and maintaining community, please let us know. We want to keep doing these sorts of webcasts. And then I remembered the fourth topic that we are doing besides how to use social media, how to build neighborhood at a distance, and the local civics that we're talking about. The other one is we're hoping to do a series on the coronavirus in the Pikes Peak region. There's a lot is different about the Pikes Peak region with regard to coronavirus, and given that it's especially a little bit different than what's going on nationally, we thought that would be a great opportunity for people. So stay tuned for that, and look for emails and look for something on our website. On that note, seeing nobody waving their hands at me, and I haven't gotten any messages about I need to talk. Okay, Brown, you're up.
One last thing, I would love for everyone to share their links. I don't have all of the links and emails, whatever you would feel comfortable with. Maybe if we go to the Kono, the post in the web or in the Facebook page or something like that, maybe put your link there so that we can all get a hold of each other, because you guys are a fantastic force. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. We had 28 people participate in this almost from the beginning, and we are still at 24. I think that's a great testament to the liveliness of the discussion. Thanks very much. We'll see you later, hopefully tomorrow. Bye.
Thank you.